Welcome into the live stream here from McCready and Siskey, powered by Rain Total Body Fuel. I'm Neal. That's Tyler. How
What
are
it
you?
is,
How
what
are
it
you?
is,
How
what
are
it
you?
is.
How are you? You good?
I'm good, man. I'm Scottish Open on. So I got up at 1:15 this morning and stayed up, and I've been up since 1:15 watching golf.
I was up at times at 1:15.
I mean, I was dozing off.
Yeah.
I wasn't glued in, but I've been
I've been up
on
since 3:30.
Yeah.
Just kind of woke up, laid there. I've been up.
You should have got up and watched golf, man.
You know what? Had I known there was golf on, I may have.
That would be the one time you watch golf.
That might have been the one time I would have watched it. I had no
Real
idea.
golfers too. I mean, it's a big tournament.
I had no idea that that golf was on. All right, we got a show for you today. We're going to talk some Pat Fitzgerald. We have some new things on Pat Fitzgerald, and we did SEC West biggest games of the year last on Monday. We're going to do SEC East big games of the year this time. So
I got to go to a baseball game. That's why I'm not dressed like this on accident. So I got to go coach them up as soon as we leave here.
Always, every time I see that, I think it's the Japanese Giants team.
It does look like it, doesn't it?
It does. Yomiuri Giants.
It does. Yeah.
All right, we'll get rolling.
I went ahead and beat the crew to it before they made fun of my shirt.
Welcome into another edition of McCready and Siskey, powered by Rain Total Body Fuel. I'm Neal McCready. That is Tyler Siskey here on this Thursday, July the 13th. Thanks to all of you for being with us. We appreciate it. Numbers are awesome. Appreciate you being here and making us a part of your week. Yeah. How are you, Tyler?
Well, I just dropped down. This is my first can of Red Dragon in a minute.
Oh, I didn't even notice you had Red Dragon. I went and got a Red Dragon myself. I need the caffeine jolt.
I don't know who I apologize for. Should I apologize to the people who are about to listen to this show or the kids who are going to have to deal with me this afternoon? They better come ready to play today.
I would think you need to apologize to the kids first and foremost.
Or parents. Should I apologize to the parents? Bring your earmuffs to the game tonight.
Who do y'all play? Y'all play a national team?
No. We're playing. No, I think we'll be semi-competitive this weekend. So, but we play tonight, one tomorrow, 2 on Saturday, and I think 1 on Sunday. So what they do, hey, this is the thing. You know how we talk about how you're messing kids' arms up in Little League and all that stuff?
Yeah.
So when you get to this age, this is where you really mess kids' arms up. You know what the pitching rules are?
No.
There are no pitching rules.
Oh, no.
No, but what happens is, all kidding aside, is if you reach a certain amount of pitches, you have to sit them out for a day or two or whatever. Well, instead of having the tournaments when it was all Saturday and Sunday, so you had like a normal life, they spread them out over like 5 days so you can go back and throw pitchers again after you threw them early in the week. So that's what it's designed for. But anyway,
Gotcha.
Hey, before we get cranked up here, how about my guy Greg Sankey getting extended, huh?
Yeah. It always gets the same. Whenever anything with Sankey happens, it gets the same levels of reaction. The smart people are like, good for the SEC. He's really good. Continuity's great. He's solid. And then you have the people that they think he's out to get
your particular
their
school.
Yes.
So who is he out to get? Out of curiosity.
These days, it's everybody except Alabama and Georgia.
The teams that are winning in football.
Yes.
Is that how it works?
That's correct.
Okay. I've known Greg Sankey for a long time. He was the commissioner of the Sun Belt Conference when I was at Northwestern State. And he actually was the compliance guy at Northwestern State, left to go work in the conference office of the Southland Conference and became commissioner, I think in like 96. And then left the Southland to come as a compliance role in the SEC. But look, all of my dealings, I will say this. I've dealt with Greg Sankey on, 2 schools, 3 different occasions. Extremely fair, brutally honest, very good leader. I don't know how you couldn't, like, if you have an objective opinion of what's going on and understand the business of it, I think he's the greatest commissioner in college sports.
Yeah, I think he's terrific. I've said this many, many times. I'll be very quick with it.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that I owe him probably my employment. I think he helped people like me avert a financial disaster. And I will be forever grateful.
Yeah,
It is that simple. I give him. I know he pushes back against this. It's modesty on his part. I respect that. And it wasn't just him by the end. And I get what he's saying. But had Greg Sankey in early August of 2020, look, you can hate him, love him, whatever. But if Greg Sankey in early August of 2020, Tyler, had not taken the tactful approach that he took in the face of incredible pressure and said, hey, we might not be able to do this. We might not be able to get to the finish line and have a season. It might be hard. It might end up being too hard. But we owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to our fans, and we owe it to the student athletes to try. That's what he said.
That's it.
We owe it to the student athletes to try. Now, that was in the wake of the Big Ten saying, no, can't do it. And the Pac-12, no way. Just, are you kidding? And Dennis Dodd writing about how many players would die. And it's easy to laugh at it now. But then, in that moment,
it wasn't a laughing matter.
A part of Greg Sankey had to think to himself, I know this for a fact.
Yeah.
He didn't think they were right. But you had to at least contemplate, okay, well, what if they are? What if I am putting people at risk? And it turns out, obviously, that we could have played, could have filled up the stadiums, everything would have been fine. But
he's just a good decision maker. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how you're supposed to make decisions. He's a logical, calm, doesn't let emotions get involved in his decisions.
And so what he did in early August, when we were in the middle of a wave, right? I guess that was I don't know what wave that was. Maybe it was the first wave. I don't know. Middle of a wave. And the numbers were high, and CNN was breathless. Oh, my God. CNN was what he did was took a step back and said, hey, let's hit the pause button. We're not going to start on time. We're going to do a compressed schedule. We're going to play nothing but SEC games. We'll figure it out. We'll redo a schedule. I know everybody's going to lose their minds. We're going to redo the schedule on the fly. We're going to limit attendance. We're going to do all this stuff. We're going to have lots of testing. It ain't going to be perfect, but hang tight. Sure enough, he did it. And when he said, I'm going to do that, he gave the ACC and the Big 12 a little room, a little runway to go, okay, well, if they're going to do it, we'll do it too. Because if Greg Sankey had said, hey, the SEC can't play, guys, there would not have been a college football season. There also would not have been a college basketball season. There also would not have been a college baseball season. There wouldn't have been any seasons. A lot of people would have lost jobs. A lot of people would have lost incomes. It would have been a disaster.
No, 100%.
And by him doing that, immediately the Sun Belt came in and went, okay, cool, we'll play. and the Big 12 went, all right, we'll give it a shot. And the ACC, which was leaning the other way, said, we'll give it a shot too. And you know the rest. Ultimately, the Big 10 went, I guess we need to play. And then the Pac-12 was like, we'll play. And they played 5 games or whatever. Greg Sankey, for that, and that, if for nothing else, and I think there's plenty more, but if for nothing else, he deserves tons of accolades.
Something that doesn't, and I will move on, but something that doesn't get talked about that whole time enough. Let's say the roles were reversed, okay, and the conservative states were out west and the liberal states were down south, like the whole planet was flipped upside down. Nobody was playing unless the SEC was playing.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk about that.
Absolutely.
No one, the Pac-12 could have said they're going to play. Nobody else is going to go, since the Pac-12 is playing, we're playing. No. The SEC had to be the guy out front.
Yes.
And that's a lot of pressure.
And there was a lot of pressure on him to do the right thing and cancel. All the columnists were calling for him to cancel.
Probably called for him to be fired.
And then, reckless when he did it. People are going to die. No one died. And anyway, congratulations to him. He's on top of that. He's pretty interesting person.
The other thing that's happening,
very good guy.
The other thing that's happening, since you cracked on to open the Red Dragon, I won't bring this up. I saw on the board earlier today, and it reminded me. I I guess since I'm getting older, my conspiracy theory and my just bullshit meter is just running rampant. Like, I'm asking a question here. How in the most secure building in the planet Earth did we not have a camera angle and we can just close the case with we don't know how cocaine got put in the building in the most secure building in the world?
The only thing I can think of is that the person who did it was wearing camouflage, sort of like a hunter.
What about the predator? You know, the invisible
Yeah.
stuff.
I think it was more of a hunter.
So, so the library where this took place sits between the Situation Room and the Vice President's office. I don't know if you knew that. There's kind of a couple of cameras in that area.
Yeah, I've actually been privileged enough at one point to get to see the Situation Room. I know exactly where it is, and there is no way that someone left a bag of cocaine there without cameras catching it.
That's beautiful. All right, moving on. Let's talk football. I had a request from a listener of ours who is a coach at an FBS school, an assistant head coach at a FBS school that listens to our program.
Okay.
And he said for him, would you please ask, because we have a lot of coaches that listen, please ask and remind all coaches at all levels, now's kind of your downtime a little bit, make sure you're getting your health checked out. He did that, went and got a physical, and it saved his life. And has saved many others, but coaches are very stubborn people by nature, if you can't tell.
Yep.
By listening to our program. But like I'm not go to the doctor guy. But a lot of coaches think they're invincible, and you're not. And we're all getting older. Make sure you get your health checked out while you can, because you will not go to the doctor once season starts.
No, absolutely. Look, guys, we're all weird about different things, and guys are tough guys and all that stuff. You need to go get your annual physical. When it comes time to have your prostate exam, you need to do it. When it comes time to have your colonoscopy, you need to do it. All those things, man, you need to do those because those things save lives.
It does. Can I ask a question? Since I'm on that, I'm in one of those moods today.
Sure.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
All right, by my math, okay, 54 years ago.
Okay.
As human beings, we put 3 human beings in a tin can and shot them to the moon.
Right.
They landed. Then they came back and landed safely and were able to talk about it.
Yeah.
53 years ago.
Yeah.
But 53 years later, the best way that you can tell me if I have prostate cancer is for you sticking a finger up my ass.
I actually think they have other ways now.
I mean, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
but I actually think they've kind of gotten past that.
You're telling me that's the best way?
I think they do a blood test now, right?
Well, that's a precursor. But like these was it Cologuard on stuff that you do and you send in? That stuff's not as accurate. But I'm just saying, like, don't tell me that's the best thing you can do to help. I mean, we put 53 years ago, put 3 human beings on the moon and brought them back. And you're telling me that's the best, all the technology we have. I can do just about anything on this thing.
Yeah.
But you're telling me, come on. You
could stick it.
I figure there's somebody making money somewhere. I don't know. All right.
On Monday, I can't remember where.
It was after the show.
It was after the show. Pat Fitzgerald was fired at Northwestern. There's been a lot of talk about it. You can imagine my field, for the most part, has done its thing. You have more information about this. I'll set you up. I'll be careful.
Okay,
I'll be careful with it. You've seen a text message from the parent of a current Northwestern player.
Yes.
It's as far as I'll go.
Yep.
That brings up, with anecdotes, concerns about the primary whistleblower, the first whistleblower. There have been other people who've said different things, but this decision appears to have been built around, maybe not exclusively, I don't know all the details, and I'm always super careful to not go scorched earth on an administrator because I don't know what all they know or believe or whatnot. I do know that they had a independent investigator do a fairly comprehensive investigation, and she came back with some findings. In those findings, she provided no proof and said as much that Pat Fitzgerald knew. I've said on
that he didn't know.
Right. Well, he couldn't prove that he knew.
Right.
He says that he didn't know, and she couldn't prove otherwise. There are some people, and these are the people that I don't necessarily have a problem with, because I'm like, okay, I can see where you're coming from. He didn't know. Maybe he should have known. I don't know. But the one thing I've heard consistently, and this text really backs it up, is that the primary whistleblower here, the person who went to the Daily Northwestern, who turned this into an absolute firestorm on Saturday, that person is not objective. That person has quite an axe to grind. And that person, it's the former quarterback. This was arguably a plan on his part to bring down Pat Fitzgerald.
Yeah, this is allegedly, this is a text message from a current parent. I'm going to paraphrase and leave some stuff out so we're not exposing anything. But I'll paraphrase. This kid has serious issues. I know him well and his parents well too. Allegedly was suspended twice from the team. Allegedly got high on the plane going to the Citrus Bowl in 2020.
Well, let me be clear here. The text here doesn't say the words allegedly.
I'm saying the words allegedly.
We're reading from a text. This person claims that this former quarterback was suspended from the team twice, that he had to sit with the coaches when he's traveling. They had to monitor him, that he had an axe to grind, that there was a tape even where he articulated his plan to bring down Pat Fitzgerald. According to this anonymous parent, he'd been having some issues of his own to the point where his parents were pretty concerned. He's described as a vindictive kid who doesn't see the chaos that he's creating all around his plan to get back at a coach he doesn't like.
Furthermore, on 11-19, so last year 11-19, a walk-on quarterback got his first start at quarterback, and he was chosen over this player.
Right.
Okay. 1 week later, the next week, the walk-on quarterback got the start again, and then another freshman got playing time above, and even a wide receiver got to play and quarterback in front of this kid. And then 11:30 was when the first complaint came through. He was in the portal, the whole deal. But here was some things. I got some questions I'd like to discuss this week, because I've had a lot of talk with coaches over the last couple of days about this. It's been since he got fired. It's been in the coaching world. It's been and I've had time to really think about it and then hear from some opinions from coaches. Okay, so for the people, I know we went full scorched earth on Monday. I'll not do that today. But he was after an investigation that started in January.
And by the way, this is a quarterback. His name is Carl Richardson.
Carl Richardson.
Yeah.
And that was exposed in a letter from one of the people to the that was released. Okay, so after the investigation, the president, AD, and Pat Fitzgerald met on Friday. And after everything that was found in a 6-month-long investigation, that I don't know how they called it a 6-month-long investigation when we're sitting in July and it started in January. I guess it was 6 months to the day. I don't know. Decided to suspend him for 2 weeks. And without having any other further contact or anything with him, then 48 hours later on Monday, they decided to fire the guy. Okay. No evidence was found that Fitzgerald or the staff knew about the hazing of the kids. So this is the first thing I want to talk about, Neal, and I want to talk about it with you, okay? Because I've thought about this a lot. All right, so the immediate first reaction for the people who want him fired is, well, it's his program. He's in charge of knowing everything that goes on with his program. We've heard that thousands of times, right?
Right.
Okay, Neal, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Are you a good husband?
I try to be.
Are you a good father?
I certainly try to be.
Do you provide for your family?
So far.
Okay, but would you consider yourself, as far as the husband and father area doing a good job.
Yeah.
I would too. Okay. You have 3 kids, is that correct?
That is correct.
You have 2 in college and 1 in high school. Or 1 out of college, 1 in college, and 1 in high school.
That is correct.
Okay. Do you have a good relationship with your children?
Do I need an attorney?
No.
Yeah, I have a great relationship with all of my
I would
kids.
consider that you have a great relationship, knowing you.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that any one of your children, as well as you know them,
Mhm.
do you think any one of your children has ever done anything that you don't know about?
Yes.
My point, right?
All 3 of them.
Okay. So now
Absolutely.
you got a guy that has 150 kids.
And this is with someone who we have very open, honest conversations about
Right.
drinking and all of those things. Yes, but absolutely.
So-
have they done things that I don't know about? Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, so do you see where I'm going with this?
Mhm.
Okay, so as a coach, everybody assumes it's the easy thing to say is, oh, the coach should know about it. The coach should know about it. Well, he has and stated in many players' letters that aren't getting out there as much, that he had an open door policy. Okay. By all regards, I've met the guy one time in passing. I don't really know him. Okay.
Sure.
I have yet to find, every time that I've talked with anyone that knows this guy, says he's one of the greatest human beings on the planet. One of the best players, coaches to ever live. All right. Also, probably why he has a job for 17 years, right? So I got a couple of questions. With that being said,
Okay.
all right. With all the technology we have today, the guy's been the head coach for 17 years. Why are we just now hearing about this?
Yeah, this. I told you this on Monday. This is my problem. Is that in a scenario where all of the accusations that are out there are true, okay? For the sake of this narrative, they're all true. Everything happened all the time, the way that it's described. It is difficult for me to believe, as a guy, that there were call it 100 guys a year, 17 years. That's 1,700 guys. That at no point did one of those 1,700 guys, and I know that's not a precise number, but for rounding purposes, did one of them go, man, this is just a bridge too far. I'm not doing this. And in fact, I'm out. I'm not doing this. You know guys well enough. Guys go, I'm not doing this naked stuff. I'm not doing this. I don't mean this as a pejorative. Okay. So
What the hell does that word mean?
YouTube, hang on. I'm not doing this gay stuff. Right?
Okay.
There are guys that
This episode is brought to you by the Biden administration.
They're just guys that are that way. And there are guys that are not that way. But there are guys that are that way. That are like, I'm not, that's a bridge too far. I'm not doing it. Nope. To my knowledge, that's never happened at Northwestern, where someone left and said, hey, here's why I left. That place is crazy. Let me tell you what they do there.
And coaches talk, right? Like coaches would have heard in
Well,
recruiting or some way.
And here was one of the things that I thought about. Coaches are so, especially assistant coaches. I mean, you guys, man, when you're assistant coaches, you're just wearing a polo.
Mercenaries.
I mean, you leave TCU to go to Tennessee and you just trade the purple for the orange. I mean, whatever. Then a year later, you're at Utah. 2 years later, you're at Florida. You're all over the place. Your coach picks up. You would have, some coach that was at Northwestern would have seen that. And that's the other thing. There's a part of me that thinks equipment people, coaches, this is the kind of stuff that would have gotten out. Someone would have said, hey, man, that place is psycho. There's weird. That place is weird.
100%.
And that didn't happen. And that's, to me, one of the big red flags that, yeah, I'm sure there's something, but it's exaggerated.
I want to tell you a red flag that came up for me and I'm going to be honest with you. It took me a minute before I was like, it hit me square in the head. Why? Let me ask you a question. If you were forced to do all that, Neal, why are we going after Pat Fitzgerald and not going after the actual people who did the act? If this is a sexual assault issue, why are we going hell bent and going the whistleblower?
Yeah.
The whistleblower is not going after the individuals that did the sexual assault hazing.
Right.
They're going after the head coach that doesn't know anything about it. Now, why is that?
What's an agenda?
It's an agenda.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
But why are we going after, like, even the media? Why is everybody going after Pat Fitzgerald and not one person, to my knowledge? If they are out there, please send them to me because I haven't seen them. But how many tweets have you seen going after the actual people that did the alleged hazing, sexual assault stuff?
I mean, I haven't read everything, but I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen one person say anything about that. So the person, now how much sense does that make? That's absolutely one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life.
It's one of my problems with Northwestern, frankly, is if you're Northwestern and you believe this strongly enough to fire Pat Fitzgerald, then you have to believe that essentially crimes occurred in your locker room,
right?
And you want those criminals prosecuted.
But not one person is even talking about that. We're going after, by all accounts, one of the greatest human beings on the planet that says, and if you did a 6-month investigation, I don't know if maybe you got to do a 10-month long investigation to find proof. But when you do a 6-month long investigation, I imagine they digged into it just a little bit, right? They wanted to know if he knew about it. And if he addresses and does things and takes care of his team, how is he, and you're affecting this guy's life. He's 48 years old. He's not much older than I am. Okay. He was playing when I was playing. This guy's done. He's done. You've affected his life forever.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then, so what changed between Friday and Monday? And I hope I'm wrong here, okay? But I'm a logical human being, and I hope that I'm wrong.
Okay. I think I know.
But between Friday and Monday,
I think it's twofold, but I think I know the one main thing. Go ahead.
After they went to the Big Ten championship game a few years ago, he got a 10-year contract.
Right.
He's going in, I think, year 3 of that, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's correct.
He's owed $42 million is what's left on that contract.
Yes.
And they've gone 4-20 in the last 2 years.
I think that definitely played a role. Other people say it did not, but I think it did.
So I hope I'm wrong, but in the current state of what we're trying to do to coaches out there, part of this tells me that, hey, you know what? Hey, look, I know we suspended. We got a way to get out of this thing with calls and go. And our new $800 million facility we're building, we can bring in a new coach with it, the whole deal. Like, I hope I'm wrong.
I think that's part of it.
I hope I'm wrong.
I actually don't think that's the biggest part of it.
All right, what you got?
I mean, I'm going to make people mad here, but that's okay. It's part of my job.
We do a good job.
Northwestern is one of those schools that is incredibly politically correct. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And when all of this stuff comes out and the accusations get made and the president talks to the alleged victim and he hears these stories and he's getting this backlash from a lot of left-wing journalists, including some who went to Northwestern. Northwestern has one of the most highly acclaimed journalism schools in the country.
You know, I was Monday years old when I knew that.
It's the Medill School of Journalism. It's big time in terms of producing journalists who get big-time jobs at big-time publications and impact my field. He got that. He was getting beat up. And we talked about Greg Sankey earlier. He folded. That's what I believe. I think he did the easiest thing to make the criticism go away from the people that he deals with on a daily basis. And I would guess at Northwestern that he deals with a lot more people of that ilk than he does with Pat Fitzgerald on a daily basis. And it was just easy to make it go away, and so he did.
And I want to say this too, talking about journalists, I would like to recognize, okay, because we pick on people all the time, Tim Brando and Danny Cannell have been doing the right thing. And that is unlike, and they're standing up for the guy. And I'm not talking about standing up for what he's, what he's done, but just not making a judgment
right
and putting somebody on, you can't just, I don't understand what happened in this country when you've become, and by all accounts, you are guilty until proven innocent, and the other way around. But that's in the world of,
well, it depends on who you are.
But that's everybody. Is all these
depends
scandals,
on who you are.
I'm with you. Okay.
I mean, we're living that right now.
I'm with you.
I mean, we're living in crazy time. I mean, I keep trying to tell people this. We're living in crazy time. And it bleeds into sports. It's one of the reasons that when people push back and go, well, you shouldn't ever talk about politics. Like, politics is part of everything that we do in our worlds. And it always has been, but it certainly is now.
It's probably for the last
7-8 years.
Yeah, I was about to say 5, 6, but 7, 8. Yeah, sure.
You know, I mean, you can go back that far, and so it's definitely a part of the fabric of everything, every part of our society these days, including sports. And Pat Fitzgerald makes an easy target. And for Pat Fitzgerald, look, they Northwestern bungled it from the beginning. They did the old school Friday afternoon news dump that was dumb. That raises suspicion. They should have done it on a Monday morning and let it get the light of day, put sunshine on it, release the report. People are going to ask for it. It was the biggest mistake that Ross Bjork and Hugh Freeze made back in 2016? 15, 16, whenever it was. The first letter. And they called people like me and kind of told us what was in it. Turns out they kind of didn't quite tell us everything. No. They should have, because that letter wasn't very bad. They should have taken that letter and they should have gone, hey, we're printing out copies of this thing right now. You want to come over and get them? Come get them. We got to retract a few names because we got to protect that, but come get them. Come get it. Write about it.
They had to retract names out of it?
Yeah, sometimes you do. That's what they should have done.
Was that in it?
I don't think so. There wasn't much in it. There wasn't much in it. And so
I'm joking, Mom.
What Northwestern should have done was release the report. Release the whole report. And then hold a press conference and talk about it. And say he's not fired because we believe, and so the investigator believes that he didn't know. He's suspended because, it's reasonable to say, well, maybe you should have known. And that would have been the end of it. 2 weeks, unpaid, go out and go, hey, for future reference, coach and other coaches around the country, hey, if you don't, you need to make every effort possible to know what's happening in all aspects of your program. That's the message that would have been sent. Mm-hmm. And that's perfectly responsible. Every coach that we've ever talked to, Kane Womack, John Summerall, the others that we've talked to would agree, hey, you know what? I should make every effort possible to know everything that's going on in my program. That doesn't mean I'll know everything, but I need to make every effort possible. And that would have been a concession that, hey, maybe I took my eye off the ball for a minute and I didn't know everything. I'm going to work harder at it. I'll take my suspension. It'll be unpaid. Donate that money to charity or whatnot and move on. But they didn't. They bungled it. And when they bungled it the way that they did, it set him up. And then here comes the backlash. And he folded to the backlash because that's what's so easy to do now.
Yeah, going back, I think it's easy for people to say, oh, well, he should have known it was in his program. And I think we've proven that it's very difficult. People don't just think about it. You know what I mean? Just think about it. And
by the way, Edward Grimes is right. He says, I'm not blaming Trump, but it feels like everything got way tenser and spiked when he announced. There's no question about it. Oh. There's no question. And then when he won, you have to remember, this is not a political statement. This is a fact. When he won, he defeated a candidate who was twofold, Hillary Clinton. One, she was incredibly unpopular. But two, among kind of the Democrat elite class, it was viewed as a fait accompli, that she was going, it was destiny for her to shatter the glass ceiling and become the first female president of the United States. Literally, on the night of the election in 2016, at the party, they had a glass ceiling, and they were going to symbolically shatter the glass ceiling. It was one of those things. And when she lost to this kind of populist candidate who came out of nowhere, who I'm convinced didn't really intend to win. I don't think Donald Trump ran intending to win. And then he wins. And he wins with mean tweets and all the stuff, and people went nuts. And look at where we've gone since then. I'm not blaming Trump necessarily, but I don't think it's difficult to go back and say, hey, what is the nexus of all this? And to go back to that point and go, that's where it was.
You know what probably is they tried so hard. Just think about how hard and the shit he's done to get canceled. He just can't. He's like Teflon. You got any bills you want to pay for?
Yeah, we'll move on. Brought to you by Rain Total Body Fuel. 300 milligrams of natural caffeine, BCAAs, electrolytes, zero sugar. It's got what you need to push the limits and achieve your goals. Check them out on Instagram at Rain Body Fuel to learn more. Also brought to you by Athletic Greens. I drink AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. I gave AG1 a try because I wanted better gut health, sustained energy, immune system support, and I just don't like taking pills. I drink AG1 every morning. I love knowing I'm doing something good for my body, giving my body the nutrition it craves, and covering my nutritional bases. Covering my nutritional bases for the day literally couldn't be easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. I just mix one small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing each morning. Done. I also like that it costs less than $3 a day. It's pretty good if you ask me. It's a really effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients. It's a win-win. If a comprehensive solution is what you need for your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Just go to athleticgreens.com/MPW. That's athleticgreens.com/MPW. Check it out.
All right. Another thing we touched on, because Kirby had to come out in the media and he did his song and dance with the media the other day. This is my Miss Reb Law, I think was her name. She had a problem with what I was saying. And I was trying, I went back and listened to the show afterwards, and I definitely did not articulate what I was trying to say. My point, I was pissed in about 45-minute mark, so it was double trouble.
Yeah.
I got pissed off about the Pat Fitzgerald and went double trouble. But here was what I'm trying to say, and I should have made this clearer: is we are now in this mode because it's in my opinion, it's a slow news cycle, and so we're targeting coaches for their off the field issues in their program, or targeting a coach in this particular play in this particular deal with off the field quote unquote culture issues. We all know that Kirby does not, there's nothing that he does that says, hey, guys, hey, look, can you play football? Yeah, coach, I'm a really good football player, but I like drag racing down the streets. That's not in a conversation. He doesn't promote that. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Like he's not promoting that or any kind of environment. And that's what culture is you're promoting an environment to create an identity. He's not doing that.
Right.
And my point is this, and this is what I wanted to make crystal clear. I had a coach come see me, the same coach. I had a coach come by the office yesterday. The same one that wanted me to bring up about the health. We were discussing this. I think, honestly, this would be a great study. Okay. So if you're a journalist out there, how about let's do this study on the same breath that we go attack this guy? Let's see how many FBS football teams that you can find that have not had a single player arrested or in court because of excessive speeding, had a court date since the end of their season last year to today. Do you know what that number is going to be?
It's either going to be 0 or super close to 0.
It's going to be 0.
Right.
Okay. I coached for 20 years. Not a single year went by. Not 1 year went by where somebody did not get arrested. Not 1 year, Neal. Not 1 year. Now, did it go?
What's that day like in the building when a player gets arrested?
I mean, you get numb to it.
Yeah.
I know this. All right. So I decided I'm not going to definitely leaving names out, but I want to tell you a couple things that have happened.
All right.
That never saw the light of day.
Okay.
I was coaching at a place where we had an all-conference safety.
Okay.
That lived on campus.
All right.
All right. We're like week 7. Middle of the season, 6, 7.
Okay.
Have I told you this story before?
No.
Okay.
I'm just trying to guess. I'm trying to
you
guess
don't know where
names.
this is going.
Okay.
We're like week 6 or 7. It's a Thursday after practice on Thursday. Well, where you're in the season at end of practice on Thursday where you're wrapping things up at special teams. We're getting fresh. We're ready to like break. Let's eat. Get ready to go play the game. Well, the police start showing up at practice.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And we was like going the nicest kid you've ever met in your life. I'm talking about super nice. I'd let the guy date my daughters if I had daughters.
Okay.
Super nice. All conference safety. Well, my man got arrested because he had people from back home mailing him large quantities of marijuana through the campus mail because he was on campus. So he was going to the campus mail and picking up these big packages.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about large, like pounds of marijuana that he was shipping from back home. They were shipping and he was selling.
Yeah.
Never saw a light of day. Right in the middle of the season now. All conference.
How'd y'all cover that one up?
Just you don't talk about. That's my point. Is
Right.
That's gonna happen.
Were charges filed?
Yeah, I went to jail, man. I mean, gone. See ya.
Okay.
He just disappeared. Violation of team rules. All right. I've also been a part of I've been a part of one where we had a DB and a wide receiver that I was coaching. Nice kid. Okay. They decided in the summertime they got bored. I guess I don't know. They went to go rob a drug dealer. They thought that was a great idea. The local drug dealer in town. They went to go rob him and they got shot.
Oh.
One got kicked off. One didn't.
That didn't make the.
Nope. Nope.
Wow. There was a day when on the beat, I always went and checked the police reports. I've stopped because it's just whatever. But yeah, I mean, look, I know stuff's happened at Ole Miss because I've heard about it that never got out.
The particular coach that was in my office that came by to see me was joking about the Georgia thing. And said, man, I had to go to court with my player last week for driving 45 miles an hour over the speed limit. It happens everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, just so many. I mean, there's just stories and stories and stories. I've coached on a team that a player had kilos of the cocaine under his bed and was distributing.
See, his mistake was he should have done it at the White House. They wouldn't have caught him. They wouldn't have caught him.
They had the right camera. So explain that. How did he get caught?
I mean,
in a dorm, but the White House were good.
Yeah, what you need to do,
the Situation Room.
Go to the West Wing and just get near the Situation Room, and man, you're good. Do all the coke you want.
Kilos.
Yeah, you're good.
Kilos. We can just go on and on. I mean, just stupid stuff, man. Like we had this really nice kid was living. He was not guilty, but he was living with roommates that had pounds and pounds of marijuana and dope in the walls of behind the drywall.
I mean, who among us?
Yeah, it got raided by the DEA and the feds. That took a while, but my point is this: it goes on everywhere. I can't even begin to tell you about bar fights, DUIs, to drugs, to whatever, man. I mean, it happens.
By the way, speaking of Georgia, this is out today. Former Georgia staffer sues the school, sues Jalen Carter. Victoria Bowles, who survived the fatal car wreck that killed a University of Georgia football player and recruiting staffer on January 15th. This is reading from my friend Mark Schleybaugh. Has filed a lawsuit against the UGA Athletic Association and Philadelphia Eagles rookie Jalen Carter, whom police accused of racing the SUV being driven by a recruiting staffer when it wrecked. The lawsuit, which was filed in state court in Gwinnett County on Wednesday by Bowles, a former recruiting analyst for the university, accuses the UGA Athletic Association of negligence and contradicts public statements by Bulldogs football coach Kirby Smart and other officials who have claimed that recruiting staffer Chandler LaCroix shouldn't have been driving the leased SUV when it left the road and struck trees and utility poles. So,
yeah, I mean, it's just
that's
we knew that was coming.
Yeah, once there's a lawsuit, people are going to write about it. All right, let's dive into SEC East teams. We did this with the West.
We did.
On a little bit of a schedule today because, frankly, something going on in my world. We'll start with Georgia.
All
Georgia's biggest game of the year, the game that you think is the one to watch with the Bulldogs.
Mine's very easy.
Yeah, I think this is the easiest one.
It's Tennessee because I think that's the only team on their schedule that can beat them straight up.
They play at Tennessee on November the 18th. It's a week after they play Ole Miss. Yeah, I just don't see a loss on their schedule. I
mean, I don't either, but I'm just saying that's the closest I think of anybody that can beat them because of style of play and all that. But gave them the biggest fits last year, but I don't see it happening. But that's the only game I see. That they got a pretty easy road, I think.
All right, we'll go to Florida now. The University, the Gators.
The Gators
open with McNeese.
Yep.
They play Tennessee at home. They get Charlotte at home. Then they go to Kentucky. They get Vanderbilt at home. At South Carolina. They play Georgia in Jacksonville. They play Arkansas in Gainesville. They go to LSU, to Missouri, and then finish up at home against Florida State.
I think we're going back to back here. I think the game against Tennessee is their biggest hurdle. They have to start. I like their chances against Utah. We'll talk about this later, but you can't. You got to get that first if they can, because they got Charlotte McNeese before them, Charlotte after. If they can find a way to be 4-0 or 3-1 going into that beef of the SEC schedule, they're going to put together some things. I really like. I think Tennessee's the biggest game. They got them at home, first SEC game. They have some momentum going into it. I think that's. You just can't lose the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a big game to create momentum moving forward.
The one to me that I circle is at Kentucky on September the 30th.
Yeah.
I look at it and go, you know what? That's going to tell me a whole lot about that team, because I don't think they're beating Tennessee. I don't know about Utah. I haven't looked into Utah enough to have a real opinion there. I don't think they're beating Tennessee. And then, look, if they lose at Kentucky, all of a sudden they got some games where you're like, hey, I mean, anything could happen. Like, they'll probably beat Vanderbilt. They didn't beat Vanderbilt last year. I don't think they're beating South Carolina. They're not beating Georgia. They got to turn around a week later and get Arkansas. I'm not convinced that they are a prohibitive favorite against Arkansas at home. I don't think they're winning in Baton Rouge. I think they could easily lose in Como, and I think Florida State could smoke them. I mean, this is potentially a really bad year for Florida. It's one of those, and it's potentially a good year. But they're one of those teams, like, I'm already working on storylines for media days, and one of them is kind of like, in a 5-6 years ago, we'd look at this and go, it's just year 2. He's fine. They're going to be patient. He's building a program. He's recruiting really well. He's building a base. Everything's going to be okay. And that's probably the case. But no longer, given what we look at now, no longer am I willing to look at that and go, oh, yeah, they'll give him more time. I mean, you know well.
I've heard.
You were part of a program at Ole Miss where you all believed that y'all were close to turning the corner, that you just needed a little more time. And most people,
when 8 of your players are freshmen, that kind of is the tendency.
And most people inside the program believed that, hey, next year's important, but we're going to get more time. And you turned out not to get time.
No.
And so I'm not in a scenario where it goes off the rails. I think Billy Napier gets more time.
I would be absolutely mortifiedly shocked.
But you know what I'm saying here. I would be too, except it's one of those things where in July, you go through that and you go, L, it'll be okay. And in the moment, though, with the emotion and stuff, things go nutty.
The thing about it, too, and I'm going to knock on wood here, because this current climate we live in, there's no telling what you can dig up these days. We talked about Florida being impatient with coaches in the past. Those coaches that they were impatient with kind of like set them, they set themselves up a little bit. Very vocal,
right?
Very in front of things, very talkative. Billy's just, you don't even hear from Billy. He's doing what he's supposed to do. I think that buys you time.
I do too. Let's go to Tennessee.
Mine's easy on this one.
Tennessee has I just looked at your answer. Tennessee has a schedule that opens with Virginia. They get Austin Peay. They go to Florida. We talked about that game. UTSA, interesting game, at Tennessee. South Carolina at Tennessee. Texas A&M at Tennessee. So a run of home games. And then Tennessee hits the road. They go to Alabama October 21st. They go to Kentucky a week later. They get UConn at home. They go to Missouri, home against Georgia, and finish up at home against Vanderbilt November the 25th.
I'm going with the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Mm-hmm. I see that.
And here's why. I promise you, per sources, that game is circled in Tuscaloosa.
Sure it is.
It's going to be personal, and it's in Tuscaloosa. If they can find a way to win it, do it twice in a row, I already think, by the way, if you're a Tennessee fan, I think you hit gold.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
He's really good.
I think he's going to be great.
Really good.
And I like the freshman quarterback.
Yeah.
Kid's going to be a stud. Tennessee is
Nico Iamaleava.
Yes. They have struck gold with Josh Heupel and that staff, have struck gold. But going to Alabama, if they can do it 2 years in a row, you may get there a little quicker than you think.
I totally buy your answer. I'm gonna go a week earlier though. I think the key game that I would watch for is Texas A&M at home.
Yeah, I thought about that one.
They get I think they're going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-0 when A&M comes to town. And if they win it, yeah, sure, take some. The Alabama game's no, it's going to be huge, right? Everyone's going to be talking about it. But if you beat A&M and you lose to Alabama, when you play Georgia at home on November the 18th, I think it's likely that you're playing for a shot at the SEC championship game. Because you beat Georgia, each have one loss, you get the tiebreaker, you go. So I think as long as they're undefeated when they play Alabama, it's still a free shot. If you have a loss, though, Alabama's an elimination game.
Yeah.
You don't want to play Alabama, a motivated Alabama in an elimination game.
They got to get to Georgia with one SEC loss.
That's my point.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll shift to South Carolina.
Wait till you pull this schedule up.
The Gamecocks, I am unprepared.
While you're pulling this schedule up,
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at this today. And look, I'm a big Shane Beamer fan.
Okay.
I love everything they're doing at South Carolina. Everything. I like what they're doing in NIL. I like what they're doing in recruiting. I like what they're doing in play. This is one of the hardest schedules that you can possibly come up with.
All right, so they get North Carolina to open the season. I think that game's in Charlotte.
And that's a team that's everybody's talking about being the top of the ACC too.
Yeah.
You got probably arguably either number 1 or number 2 quarterback in the country.
Furman at home, at Georgia, Mississippi State at home, at Tennessee, Florida at home, at Missouri, at Texas A&M, Jacksonville State at home, Vanderbilt at home, Kentucky at home, Clemson at home. So the whole month of November is at home.
So think about this. Like Ole Miss, everybody's talking about how tough Ole Miss's schedule is, right?
Yeah.
Well, their 2 non-conference games, their big 2 non-conference games, are against Tulane and Georgia Tech. Imagine swapping that and replacing it with North Carolina and Clemson. You know what I'm saying? Like It's good gosh.
All right, so what's the pivotal game for them?
For me, it's North Carolina out the gate. I think they got to set a tone because they got Furman. They'll win week 2, right? But they have to, to get to where they could have a really good team. They could be better than what they've ever been in a long time and have a 7-5 or 8-4 team. I mean, they could be legitly really good with a 7-5 or 8-4. I'm talking about legit good because of the teams they play. You got Clemson, you got Georgia, you got Tennessee. I mean, those 3 games alone, you got North Carolina, who people are talking about contending for the ACC. I mean, you got 4 legit. I mean, if you just looked at it on paper, that's 4 opponents that should be top 10, top 12 caliber teams, right?
Yeah. I think your answer is the right one, but for different sake, the 3 that stick out to me on their schedule that if you're going to have a really good year, you have to win them. They got to beat Mississippi State at home. They have to beat Florida at home, and they got to win in Columbia, Missouri.
Yes,
got to win those games. If you win those games, even if you lose to Tennessee in Knoxville, even if you lose to Georgia and Athens, and I think they will, you got a chance to finish strong because you finish at home. You got to go to A&M. It's tough, but you could get to 9-3.
And they did beat Clemson last year.
They did. Beat them soundly, in fact. All right, we go from South Carolina to Kentucky. I'm always accused of being a Kentucky fan.
I am. Big Blue Nation. I'm not doing anything today.
All right, Kentucky opens. I had a cousin went to Kentucky. Kentucky opens with Ball State at home. They get Eastern Kentucky after that. Then Akron. They hit the road to go to Vanderbilt September 23rd. Come home to face Florida a week later. Head to Georgia October the 7th. Get Missouri at home. Open date. Then they finish with Tennessee at home, at Mississippi State, Alabama at home, at South Carolina, at Louisville. That's a tough finish for the Wildcats.
A lot of Louisville love. I think it's against Florida. I think that's their biggest game. I think they can start if they can get Florida. They can start out really hot. 5-0 or 6-0? They can start off
1, 2, 3.
If they get Florida,
4, 5. If they get Florida, they'd be 5-0 when they go to Georgia.
Yeah, so I think that would be for me the Florida game. If they can get that one, then that puts them at 5-0. I think going into the Georgia game, it's a hell of a start.
The one for me, you're going to laugh at me. I think. I think to avoid a real run on bad luck that could kill them at the end, I think the key game for them is in Starkville on November the 4th. I think they've got to find a way to beat Mississippi State because it's after Tennessee, before Alabama, then you go to South Carolina, and then you go to Louisville. look, that thing could go off the rails. You could be playing good. So if you lose to Mississippi State, you could conceivably lose 5 in a row to finish the season. That would not be pleasant.
No.
All right, let's go to our boys. My guy, the most handsome coach.
This is easy.
In the SEC.
It's the easiest answer of all time.
Best hair in the SEC. It is Clark Lee and the Vanderbilt Commodores. They open with Hawaii at home, August the 26th. It's a week 0 game. Alabama A&M week after that. Then at Wake Forest, September the 9th. At UNLV, September the 16th. Kentucky at home, September the 23rd. Missouri at home, September the 30th. At Florida, Georgia at home, at Ole Miss, Auburn at home, at South Carolina, and then they finish November the 25th, the game we talked about earlier, at Tennessee.
Mine's real easy. Wake Forest, week 3. If they can find a way to get 4-0, just somehow find a way to get 2 more the rest of the way.
Yeah, for me, I'm looking at one of the ones that you have to get to one of those 2, and it's Missouri, September the 30th.
Yeah.
You got to beat Missouri at home.
Yeah.
If you beat Missouri at home, you got a shot down the stretch, because we talked about this before. I mean, the Auburn team that you play November the 4th could be kind of done. Might not be, but could be. You could win at Florida if Florida is not good. You're not beating South Carolina probably on the road. You're not beating Tennessee there after no.
You're not going to find a lot of dubs on that schedule.
No, so you're hunting
on paper.
Yeah, it's Wake. It's you got to make sure you beat UNLV, and when you get an opportunity,
Barry Odom.
Let's say that they got Hawaii, Alabama A&M, Wake, UNLV to get to 4-0.
Find 2 somewhere.
When Kentucky comes in that next week, you're hot. Go for it. Because after that, you get Missouri. I mean, if you could somehow win one of those 2 games and get to 5-1 at the turn,
Nashville will be turned up.
Can you imagine? And then frankly,
they'd have like 17,000 people in the
stands. Yeah, maybe 18. You would be just hunting for 1 win in the last 6, and get crazier things.
All right, real quick, last thing before we get out of here, because we're gonna get out of here in about 5 minutes.
Right.
Who is your surprise team in the SEC? And what I mean by that is, who are you going with in the SEC that everybody's going to say you're crazy for saying that they're going to be better than what people think they are? A team that you think is going to be better than expectations.
A surprise. Okay, so I'm
preparing you for your next week.
All right, so I'll talk you through it a little bit.
Okay.
But LSU's become a hot pick for everybody, and so that doesn't count.
I mean, they'd have to win the Super Bowl for them to be better than expectations.
I think there's a real chance that Texas A&M is better than people think.
I can hear Chase right now.
I know.
Chase is going to have a hard time if they're good, isn't he?
Yeah, he'll struggle. God, I almost dread saying this out loud. I think there's a chance Arkansas is significantly better than people are giving them credit for.
We just lost all of our viewers.
I know. And then the schedule's brutal, but I'm pretty high on South Carolina, man. I mean, I think there's a lot there. Like it could go. There's a path for that to go really well. Talk culture. What Beamer's doing there is strong. They've got a good quarterback, back for his second year in the league. He finished really well. They were a good team at the end.
He's got them going, man. That schedule's murder.
The schedule's brutal. I mean, if they played a different schedule, I'd go, oh, South Carolina. But the schedule's just so hard. I mean, Kentucky, I don't like the way their schedule finishes. It's not good. Okay, here's my answer. The team that's probably not getting the ink that could be a really, really good team is Tennessee.
Okay.
If you told me Tennessee went 10-2, 11-1, am I stunned? Nope. Not even a little bit. Now, here's what's interesting is internally at Tennessee, what they're saying is quietly, hey, let's dial this back a little bit this year. But next year, look out. Because they're building classes on top of classes.
I think you got to get them this year.
That's the feeling inside their building, is my understanding, is that if you're going to get us, you better get us now, because we're going to be hell in the next couple of years.
My surprise team, and we're going to finish it up with this.
Okay. My
surprise team. I could have easily took the softball question, which I do think they're going to be better. Like if they could be 10-2, 9-3, good, even better is the Texas A&M Aggies, but that's not my surprise team.
Okay.
That is better. That's a softball answer. Everybody that if this question gets asked across every podcast across the Southeastern Conference, Texas A&M, I imagine, would get a lot of. It's a freebie. It's a free square.
People are scared of it, but sure.
Yeah, but it's a free square because you have validation behind it.
I think I know your answer. Can I guess?
You can.
Your guess is Auburn.
No.
Okay.
No. My guess, the surprise team, the 2023 SEC football season.
Oh, I thought you were about to say champions. I was going to be wow.
Not champions, just surprise.
Okay.
Is the Florida Gators.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Florida Gators.
You'll get a lot of mileage off that if it comes true.
Look, I'm just telling you, everybody's hating on Billy after 1 year. Like it's his fault. Like they suck because it's his fault last year. And they didn't suck. They went 6-6 with a decimated roster. He had to change the culture. They're recruiting on a crazy high level. And everything's negative. He's not saying a word.
No, it's true.
Not saying a word. He's just doing his job. And that's how Billy is, by the way.
They're one of the more interesting teams.
They got Graham Mertz at quarterback, and I've said this. I know I've said this on our show before.
He was not good at Wisconsin.
Graham Mertz, as a true freshman, I was like, holy smokes, this guy can play.
Yeah.
And then that was the COVID year.
Yeah.
All right. And then after that, there's been a lot of like, what is going on?
He was not good at Wisconsin.
And
he wasn't.
Billy, the kid's talented. Billy's a quarterback guy.
Yeah, he was a big 5-star. Everybody loved him, all that stuff. But he was not good at Wisconsin.
Good 1 year.
Okay, but
good
on balance.
Bad 2 years.
On balance, he was not a good quarterback at Wisconsin.
Bad 2 years. I think Florida is going to be surprisingly really good.
Okay.
I think they're where they're recruiting because everybody is just it's all down. They're still Florida.
Okay.
And I know the staff there. I know how good of a coach Billy is. I know what kind of program he runs, and he is doing straight up Billy right now. He isn't saying anything.
Okay.
That's all I got today, boss.
All right, one more. Who's your surprise team not in the SEC? I've got an answer.
All right, you go ahead.
The Kansas State Wildcats.
Oh, that would be a surprise.
I think they're going to be really, really, really
Lost
good.
a lot.
They lost a lot. Got a lot coming in. You talk about culture.
Yeah.
They're good with culture.
No, they are.
And they play in a league where, just watch out. Everybody's doing Texas. I'm not sold. I don't think Oklahoma's as good as their lofty aspirations. And then you start checking out the Big 12. TCU lost a lot. UCF's coming in, but the rest of the teams that are coming in aren't so good. Baylor's down. Texas Tech's going to be better. Just kind of there. It's interesting. They play super physical. That brand of football, when you don't play behemoths, and in that league this year you don't, that brand of football sometimes carries over year to year.
Edward brings up a good one here. Duke, yeah, I think Duke will be good. All right, so my surprise out of the SEC, not in the SEC, I could probably give you 500 guesses and you wouldn't get it, so I won't even waste your time there. One, I think North Carolina, between North Carolina, Florida State, and Clemson, you're going to get an ACC champ, but I think North Carolina is going to be legit, obviously, because they got the real deal quarterback. But my surprise team that no one literally is talking about at all,
okay,
that I think is going to be an 8-9 win team.
Okay.
Maybe 10.
Okay.
The Maryland Terrapins.
Oh, yeah. That's not bad. Yep, I can see that.
Quarterback's back. Good player. They have been recruiting extremely well. They got great coaches, and they're literally flying on the radar because between Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, there's not enough media left to cover in the Big Ten. They're just doing their deal, and they got everybody coming back. Ronnie wants me to talk about the Memphis Tigers. I'm not talking about the Memphis Tigers, even though I love them.
By the way, on MPW Digital in about 3 hours, hand raise guys, it's already taped. It's already loaded. It'll roll. It's a Big Ten preview. Matthew Stevens of IlliniGuys.com joins. We talk about the Northwestern thing. We talk about Illinois. We talk about Ohio State, Michigan, Nebraska, Maryland.
Watch out for Nebraska.
Watch out for Nebraska. Not this year necessarily, but down the road. He's a dude, and they have NIL.
Yeah. Look, they can say what they want to about that guy. He's a coach. He's a ball coach.
Give me 1 second, okay? Give me 1 second. All right, we'll wrap there. I've got to take this call. So for Tyler Siskey, I'm Neal McCready. That does it for this edition of McCready and Siskey. Don't forget, we're brought to you by Rain Total Body Fuel. Check them out on Instagram at Rain Body Fuel to learn more. We'll be back in a week after SEC Media Days. We'll wrap it up, really start hyping up the upcoming football season and talking all about it. So for Tyler, I'm Neal. Thanks for being part of the show. Take care.